Yes, indeed, continuing our focus on the state of emergency. Well, Keji joins us, as you might have seen in the opening side, is a legal practitioner. Morning, thank you for coming on.
Good morning, thank you for having me.
Well, already we're having commentary about gazetting or no gazetting, 2 days if they are sitting, 10 days if they are not sitting, and how a broadcast is not a declaration of state of emergency. But Senator speaks on this one. Let's listen to what he said, Senator Domegba, about it.
So the 2 days starts running after the publication of the instrument in a gazette. So until the gazette is published, time does not begin to run. And there is nowhere in the Constitution where the President is obliged to publish the gazette within a specific time. The Constitution doesn't say he must publish the gazette within 24 hours or 48 hours or 72 hours. The Constitution doesn't say so. So whenever the President publishes the gazette, then the 2-day or 10-day period as applicable begins to run.
Well, there you have that. Let's refer to Mr. Keji here. Well, you know, the thing about this lawyers will always present different shades of opinion about this matter. And sometimes ends up confusing the entire citizenry. But what is this all about? I mean, people thought...
I am quite surprised by the distinguished senator's assertions that until the gazette is published, time does not begin to run. Or in other words, that the gazette has not been published. Because putting a state of emergency in effect requires the publication of the gazette. There's nothing wrong in announcing it, so to speak, you know, on air. But while you're announcing it, the real action of proclamation happens with the publication of the gazette. So if there is no publication of the gazette, then there is no state of emergency.
Wow. And then we also understand, well, what's the procedure? I mean, is it after the announcement? Is it supposed to go to the National Assembly, or should they have gone to the National Assembly first, or it doesn't matter as long as...
No, it doesn't matter. What matters is the publication of the gazette. As soon as you want to declare a state of emergency, you publish the gazette and send it forthwith. As soon as you have declared it, you send it forthwith to the Senate and to the House of Reps. That is the declaration itself, the fact of publication. So, deployment of troops or upstaging of the constitutional situations in the 3 states that are earmarked for the emergency declaration will not take effect until that gazette has been published. So if somebody is saying that the gazette has not been published or has not been transmitted, absolutely what we are just simply saying, in effect, is that there is no declaration yet of state of emergency. And what is happening is not a state of emergency.
Has any portion of the Constitution been breached?
Well, no portion of the Constitution has been breached. But if you bear reference, if you take into cognizance what has happened presently in terms of deployment of troops in the name of state of emergency, you may wish to state that anybody whose constitutional rights are breached cannot has a legal right to seek redress, irrespective of the declaration of state, the so-called declaration of state of emergency. In other words, if there is a proper declaration of a state of emergency, you may not have powers, rights to ask for a redress in the law courts. But where there is no declaration, proper declaration of state of emergency, then you would have rights to ask for a redress. So, in effect, if the gazette, official gazette, has not been published, definitely there is no emergency.
Please differentiate proper declaration of state of emergency and state of emergency. Please differentiate that.
State of emergency.
What we have now, is it a proper declaration?
If the official gazette has not been published.
Based on what the senator said, it's not been published.
If it has not been published, in effect, we don't have a state of emergency yet. In effect, we don't have a state of emergency. But let's look into the flip side of it. You see, with a combined reading of Section 130 of the 1999 Constitution as amended and Section 218, the President, as the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, has an absolute power to deploy troops to any area in Nigeria. that can stand for what has happened. But for you to call it state of emergency, it falls short of the requirements of a state of emergency, in as much as that official gazette has not been published.
What does it take to publish it?
No, it doesn't take nothing. It's the same typewriting effort that is put into typing the statement, as it were, of the president on air. It's the same effort you use in gazetting it, and you just send it forth.
So it's just a question of nomenclature.
It's not just a nomenclature. I presume, not nomenclature. I presume that as the preparation of his statement was being made, the preparation also of the official gazette was also simultaneously being made, and as simple as that, it is transmitted to the National Assembly.
Because
but if it has not been transmitted here, there is a very big lacuna, a very big loophole.
As Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, as you've highlighted, has he done anything outside his purview as the chief officer of the nation?
No, legally speaking, he has not done anything outside the purview. Not necessarily, even if you take it under Section 305, as to declaration of emergency, he has not gone beyond his powers. He is very much within his powers and rights to so declare. However, procedurally, there may be a defect. I am just becoming aware of the fact that an official gazette has not been transmitted to the National Assembly. If that be the case, there's a procedural error along the line.
And in all of this, perhaps we should also look at some of the deployment of troops that has happened. If what Udomagba has said is correct, are you saying the deployment of troops will now be defined as what?
In substance, that deployment of troops, no matter the name you call it, the president has called it state of emergency, but in substance, that deployment of troops, in as much as there may be a possibility of procedural defect in declaring the state of emergency, that deployment of troops can be done under Section 130 and Section 218 of the 1999 Constitution as amended by the President as the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. And that brings us to the question, what is exactly the material difference between what obtains prior to this